Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. As we continue looking into the roadmap to a successful Dawa mission, wherever you are, whether in Africa, you're in Europe, you're in Asia, wherever you are, we really need to get a clear-cut means to do Dawa successfully. And that's what we are looking at. And this is based on several questions that we've been getting on the ground where we always go do our Dawa missions. Now, the fourth question that we are headed to, somebody asked that, can you give us some, workable Dawa approaches? Yani, how do you approach situations when you go out for Dawa? Or how do you do it? Okay? And I think it is just prudent that we look into this, inshallah. I want you to know, or at least remember, wherever you are, that Dawa is classified into probably two or more classifications. One, we have direct Dawa, where you are dealing with people directly, and I'll come to that. We also have an indirect Dawa. It also has its own principles. And we also have communal Dawa. So we are going to look into these three aspects of Dawa. Starting by direct Dawa. In direct Dawa, you have a one-on-one. You go out there, whether you are doing street Dawa, distributing those pamphlets and talking to people, or you have an open air debate, or you have discussions, and all that, in an open air setting, or one-on-one with somebody in his office or in his house, or wherever you meet. Now, when you are doing that, you have to understand that you have a lot of opportunities that are bound. You have every opportunity to make that particular person understand Islam, because you do not have any other distraction. It is only you and him, or you and them, and they are seated pensively looking at you and listening to you to whatever you may want to tell them. Now, I want you to know that under one direct Dawah, opportunities are abound. Do not blow away those opportunities. Do not misuse them. You have to know that time wasted is never recovered. And you do not want to waste any time in Islam, because you never know when you're going to kick the bucket. And when you kick the bucket, when all that you were doing was wasting time, then you are in for a rude shock amam Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I told you earlier, when you are on a direct Dawah, one-on-one, you have to learn to listen and listen and listen, because as you tell him something, he or she also has something to tell you, or they have something to tell you. Therefore, you have to practice to listen and listen and listen some more. You also have to need to assess. You need to assess their needs, okay? Localities differ. And when you are talking to people in the rural areas where I actually base, okay, I do my Dawah in rural areas where you go and introduce Dawah. You introduce Islam to them. It's not like town Dawah where you deal with hardcore, antagonists of Islam. People who just want to criticize Islam for every other reason, and they think Muslims are bad people and Islam is a wrong religion, and they will never see anything good in Islam. I don't do that. I go to the rural areas, deep into the villages, where people still have that fitra. People still just need the truth. So you assess the need of these people and give them what they need to have, okay? You also need to provide an appropriate and proportional responses. You do not need to, somebody asked you, what are the pillars of Islam? And in fact, every other Muslim knows, and every other Muslim, old or young, knows the pillars of Islam, that there are only 5. And instead of giving a clear-cut answer that there are 5, the first one is Shahada, the second one is prayers and all that, until you finish the 5 pillars. And then you start going, beating about the bush that, Islam is good and all that. No, you are not to do that. You are to give very, very proportional answers, clear. And you do not have any problem with that, because time is of the essence when you are on a one-on-one dawah mission. Another thing that you really need to know is that you do not need to give an overdose of information. You can't teach Islam in one day and exhaust it. You can't do that. But you can teach Islam continually and perpetually until you reach a certain point where your audience now understand what Islam is all about. So don't go there for an information overkill. You are not going to do it, and you are going to mess yourself up. So just give them something that they can absorb, and then you give time for tomorrow and the following day and the following day. So perpetually you are going to do to accomplish the mission. But if you want to do it on one day or one moment, you're not going to do it. So do not overdose your audience. Do not quarrel with them. Do not fight them. Do not abuse them. Do not patronize them. Okay? You know, you are talking to people who also understand. Don't think that they don't understand. They understand so well. And you know, some philosophers said that whatever you think you know, somebody else knows it almost 20 times. So as you give them dawah, you talk to them, you try to convince them to become Muslims, know that they also know the system that you're using. Probably there is one in them who knows Islam more than you know. And this testimony. Back in the year 2007, I had a dawah mission in Busia in Western Kenya. Kenya is in Africa, and Africa is in the world, for those who do not know. Now, when I was in Busia, we were giving dawah, and there was a lady who was listening in the audience. And believe you me, the lady was a lecturer of Islamic studies in Kenyatta University. If not Kenyatta University, then JKUAT University, one of the universities in Kenya. And I got an opportunity to sit down with her later after the program, and she revealed a lot of things to me. And I came to realize that, you know, when you're talking to people, try to be very, very careful. Some people in the audience know more than you think you know. So please do not fight them. Don't even quarrel, because they may be tempted to, correct you. You know, maybe you quoted something, you misquoted something, or maybe you gave a wrong reference. Of course, they have a moral obligation to correct you, and you need to stand to be corrected. So when you are corrected, do not quarrel. Do not show that, you know what, you have done something wrong, that's a taboo. No. You stand to be corrected. So don't fight with them. Don't abuse them. Don't show that you know more than them. Don't patronize them. Provide closure. Whenever you are doing dawah to people, one-on-one especially, provide closure. Okay, if you want this and that information, please go to this website, or this is my number. You can call me, you can email me, you can WhatsApp me, or I am on this Facebook page and all that. So you try to give some references on where you can be found, how they can get back to you a little later. Because one day I was also in a dawah mission in Mombasa, and there was students on exchange programs. Students were coming from different states in the US, and I hosted them for 3 days, and that should be in the year 2008. And within the 3 days, as we were discussing and doing all that we were doing, two of the students, one from Germany and another from Virginia, thought they wanted to be Muslims. And their leader was that antagonist. So they did not want this leader to know that they wanted to become Muslims. So they wrote a cheat to me, and I learned that, and I gave them my contact generally. So all of them had my contacts, and then we communicated with them much later, and they came and embraced Islam in private, and they went back to their countries, and after their graduations, they now started practicing their Islam without any problem, because they feared they would be denied graduation opportunity. So provide closure so that they can find you. And lastly, always, leave a door open. Don't close every door. Leave some doors open, okay? And this will help you in your mission. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.